Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome to my second YouTube upload regarding Star Wars The Old Republic game. I'm Mephisto, and tonight I'm going to be looking at the skill tree for the Pyrotech Bounty Hunter class. I played the mercenary equivalent of the Bounty Hunter in beta. I got a couple of months in before the game actually launched. It was a lot of fun, a lot of DPS, but in the end it's pretty much what swayed me to become a Powertech. They just got a lot more versatility and a lot more movement, and they can get around the map a lot easier without having to stand there and cast moves like the mercenary does, making them very big targets. Obviously the numbers they put out also attracts a lot of heat, so the mercenary is not the choice for me, so I'm going to be talking about the Powertech and a few of its strengths and just why it's such a great class really. This video will be useful if you're thinking of leveling up a Powertech and your end result aim would be to have a good DPS character, bit of survivability and good one-on-one capabilities. So yeah, that's what we're going to achieve in the next 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to slip over to Tatooine now, and we're going to get started on the skill tree and pick apart the Bounty Hunter class a little bit for anyone that's interested. Cheers. Welcome back. This is Mos Eisley, Tatooine, the Imperial Spaceport in the Tatooine system. I completely forgot why I was here after a long space travel and a couple of beers, and started running off towards the PvP area, but I've dragged myself back to the capital, and let's talk about the skill tree for the Pyrotech. I'm just going to start off with the rapid shots. This is your generic move. It just lays down a bit of cover in DPS in between your rotation, generates no heat, kicks out a fair amount of damage. So yeah, I always place that on an easy slot on my key bindings. I'm running usually with 13 programmable buttons on my mouse, so pretty much everything you see here at the bottom is used on my mouse, and apart from Q, E, F, T, G. But pretty much these here, these 14 or well, no, 14 buttons. They're basically on my mouse with a shift modifier, along with 3 up here, also on my mouse. So I don't like to overcomplicate things and put too much effort into one hand. You've got two, so the left is on the WASD, pretty much kicking around, making movement as easy as possible. So yeah, just bear that in mind when I talk you through these skills. It's always good to have an easy setup, making it comfortable for yourself with moves which feel natural and effective. I always put a nice special effect move on keys, which I like to press, my trigger finger I call it, but yeah, maybe I'll go into that more, my setup and my mouse in another guide, but at the moment we're concentrating on the Pyrotech class. So this Pyrotech tree over on the right hand side is shared with the Merc. We'll come back to that. The advanced prototype, this is your tree, which is basically based on mobility, close range, melee combat. Your retractable blade, which is just here, plunges a retractable blade into the target that deals a lot of damage, kinetic, and causes the target to bleed for internal damage, which bypasses armor over 15 seconds. It's your bread and butter advanced prototype move. Very nice. I'd love to be able to throw that in with a Pyrotech rotation, but unfortunately you can't do that. And the shield tech defense. I've played a little bit of the shield tech. I wasn't too keen. The shield has issues, so I hear. I haven't bothered PvPing with it too much. It gets a nice charge move, similar to the warriors charge with the lightsabers. Good for hutball, but there isn't much use for it if you can't do much damage afterwards. So yeah, I'll come back to the advanced prototype and shield tech in the future. I'm planning on diversifying a little bit more. Mainly I've kept my attention to the advanced prototype and the Pyrotech. The advanced prototype was a lot of fun, actually. I remember switching back to Pyrotech and I found it awkward and not as much fun, to be fair, but the Pyrotech was kicking out a lot more damage. I've learnt to love it, and I'm going to show you why, and basically I'll finish up with a little demonstration so you can see the rotation and how these skills that we're going to be looking into affect the finished product. Right, so I feel like I've sufficiently rambled on long enough to get down to the components of your Pyrotech class. Let's start talking about the puncher. Rail shot ignores 60% of the target's armour. These will be the basic skills you'll be getting in the advanced prototype damage tree, but you can mix and match with pretty much anything I say with it in this guide. Apart from the Pyrotech, I'll actually suggest a few different options, but yeah, the puncher is what you'll be wanting to get. You can't ignore the 60% of the target's armour extra buff you get, so you'll also need it to raise your points to get to the second tier, which is pretty essential. The prototype burn enhancers increases the critical hit chance of all fire effects by 6%, self-explanatory. Hot Iron, on the second tier, increases the damage dealt by Flame Burst and Retractable Blade. We talked about the Retractable Blade, but what you're mainly using is your Flame Burst. This is going to be your kind of your main DPS filler, so that's brilliant. You can swap this with something in the shield tech tree. I'll go through that in a second. Prototype cylinders, your 3 cylinders for your 3 different trees, basically. It's enhancements for them. The combustible gas cylinder increases the tech critical hit chance by 3%. You need this no matter which class you are. This is pretty standard, I think. So let's move on to the shield tech. We've got increases the damage of rail shot by 6%. So you're adding this with your puncher. Rail shot ignores 6% of the target's armour, and then you're increasing your total output by 6%. There's another 30% armour to get in there, so with these 3 moves which you'll be investing in, it really maximises your rail shot and pretty much brings it into your rotation as a plausible and excellent actually move. It's just a filler that just creates so much damage when you need it. With your thermal detonator, you're going to have a lot of fun with this move. 1.2, they've made it so that your combustible gas cylinder, which is on a 10% chance to deal it, so to activate, it will require that. So it's going to be a 10% chance to activate your 90% chance. I haven't really tested since 1.2 too much, to be honest. I've been playing other games we've had in my Xbox, but that's another issue. Let's talk about intimidation. Increases damage done by all effects by 2%. There's 3 points to be spent here, so this is actually effectively 6%. Now this is the one you can swap with Hot Iron. You can put your 2 points into there, or your 2 points into here. I would suggest if you're going to go for intimidation, you make the sacrifice and put all 3 and maximise it to 6%. I actually wanted the extra skill point elsewhere, so that's why I've gone with Hot Iron. Combust, non-entity really. You're not a tank, you're not expecting to survive, so reducing 2% or 4% damage against a target is not going to do much really. If you're in trouble, you're going down as a Pyrotech. There's not much you can do. The fights are swift, and they're a lot of mayhem and just a bit of insanity. It's just in and out, fast moving, and you won't be going for prolonged fights as a Pyrotech. You need to be able to finish the job or be finished yourself. So yeah, that is basically the first two trees covered. Right, so we find ourselves at the last and most important tree to look at in this spec, and that's the Pyrotech damage. You're going to be going all the way for thermal detonator here. I have actually tried investing a little bit more into the advanced prototype tree, but in the end you need the thermal detonator. It's a bit sad, but you do need it. You're going to find yourself, if you lose that you're just not going to be able to finish people off as effectively as you need to. In a Pyrotech, your heat generates very quickly in this spec, so you'll find yourself basically overheated, and you just need a little bit more DPS just to finish a target, and it's so crucial that we go all the way in this tree. So we're going to start off with integrated cardio package. Again, this is very reminiscent of the combust over in the other tree, in the Shieldtech tree, so it's kind of negated really in the spec and what we're trying to achieve. So I just left this out completely. It's not worth 3 points and it doesn't do a lot, so we're just going to move straight onto Iron Fist. And actually, while we're lingering on this one, I just want to go back to a previous comment I made, which basically said that the combustible gas cylinder is required to activate rail shot. This actually isn't the case. There's a couple of moves which activate your rail shot. It's only usable against incapacitated targets and targets suffering from periodic damage. So basically it's dots and stuns that trigger this. Your flame burst achieves that, and your incendiary missile achieves that, and also your rocket punch will achieve that as we spec. So your flame burst and your rocket punch are going to basically open up when we're done with this spec chances to reset the timer on your rail shot and make it cost no heat. So this is basically the essentials of the Pyrotech rotation. You're going to be opening up that rail shot, using it, slipping into other moves, going into your moves that are off the global cooldown, slipping in a rapid shot, moving in with flame bursts, and just basically adapting to the environment, because people ask what's the rotation for a Pyrotech. There isn't one. It's basically just doing whatever is needed in the situation, laying in your stuns. It's a lot of fun to play. But anyway, we'll carry on with the Iron Fist. Increases the damage dealt by Rocket Punch. This is going to become, as I said, a crucial move, so we need that. Burst and Flame. Flame Burst has a 100% chance to trigger your combustible gas cylinder. Well, there we go. You're going to be using this within a fight. You're going to use this probably 8 times, so you know you've got to have that as well. And it brings you on to the second tier, the gyroscopic alignment jets. These you have a 50% chance to vent 8 heat when stunned, immobilized, knocked down, or otherwise incapacitated. So anyone that's played Star Wars: The Old Republic knows stuns are a massive problem. I did try this spec out actually, but in the end I thought, well, if I'm stunned and there's a lot of players around, it's not going to help you out. And the 8 heat, you know, let's look at your flame burst. I mean that generates 16 heat, so it's half a move. It's half your main move. It's not worth 2 points. So I ended up dropping that and just moved straight into Sweltering Heat. Combustible gas cylinder has 100% chance when it applies its effects to reduce the movement speed of the target 50%, 2 seconds. you know, again, if you're using your flame burst move, which flame burst has a 100% chance to trigger your combustible gas cylinder, if active, of course. And then you mix it with combustible gas cylinder has a 100% chance when it applies its effects to reduce the movement speed. If it's active, basically your target's going to be at 50%. You're going to be using your flame burst every 3 seconds, 2-3 seconds, so that's a must. Superheated gas increases the damage dealt by a combustible gas cylinder by 30% and its chance to be triggered by 60%. You're just mixing all of what we've already invested in, and you're putting it into there, and those two lines, they just sum it up, and they're building the bones for what's to come. Right, so as you kind of see the spec come together now, let's just finish her off and go straight into the infrared sensors. Now at this point you've got the option to go 5 different ways to customize your spec from this point out, and it's really just going to come down to your play style, how you like to run. Do you prefer the extra stealth availability and play more conscious player, or would you just rather go with a bit of extra mobility, a bit of extra heat dissipation? We're going to talk all about that, but basically if you look at the spec here, you're looking at losing 2 moves out of a possible 5. So from here on out, I'm going to give you some suggestions, but it's all down to your playstyle. You need to find the way that works best with you, what moves you tend to use more. So you just got to play around from here on out, but this is what I'm rolling with. Increases the stealth detection by 2, melee and range defense by 2, reduces the cooldown of stealth scan by 5 seconds. Now, I'm not one to stack defense, so there was no reason for the melee and range defense by 2%. I do like the stealth scan, and I like to be able to detect players around me. They're always a lot of hassle for a Pyrotech. You can run around melting people all day, but when you keep getting caught out, stunned, perma-locked and taken down, this is when you're really going to appreciate this move. And also the stealth scan, to a lot of players it seems to be a bit of a deterrence. If you're in trouble, you can throw it down, mark an escape route, and a lot of players who don't understand the visuals and the effects of the move, they basically stay away thinking it's an AoE. So I've kept that. I play around, I move that around a little bit, but this is where the choices will come in later on. Incendiary missile, it's a dot, it's ranged, and it's your opening move on most occasions as you're running in, assaulting. So it's elemental damage dot. Later on you're going to see a 30% increase to elemental damage when your target is under 30%. So this is one, it's an extra move, it's 1 point, you've got to have it. Superheated rail. Rail shot ignores an additional 30% of the target's armour. You're clocking that with the rail shot ignores 60% in your advanced prototype tree. So if a rail shot hits a burning target, it has a 100% chance to vent 8 heat. So yeah, if your target's a flame, then you're venting heat with a move which you'll be using a couple of times a fight. And it refreshes the duration of your combustible gas cylinder's burn effect if present. So that sort of just mixes in to the into the cauldron, so to speak. And Degas energy shield has a 50% chance to remove all movement impairing effects when activated. I'll come back to these ones. Prototype particle accelerator, when combustible gas cylinder is active, flame burst has a 45% chance and rocket punch has a 60% chance to finish the cooldown on rail shot and make the next rail shot free. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. This effect cannot occur more than every 6 seconds. That's fine, but you're basically using your two moves, your flame burst, which is one that you use as a filler almost, and your rocket punch, which is on a 9-second cooldown. Now these two are opening up your rail shot. This is the rotation you're running, and you're just filling it with these extra moves, stuns, unload, grapple, anything that's needed. But this is how you're going to be doing your damage. So yeah, that's a must, and also you need it for the next tier. Rapid venting reduces the cooldown of vent heat by 60 seconds. Your vent heat is basically, it drops heat. It drops 50 heat over 3 seconds, which is 50%. Your heat is basically on a contrast to any other class, which basically builds force powers which take away from your mana pool. Apparently you're building it up as you're making moves, which is an interesting concept, and actually I prefer it. It's a lot easier to keep track. So this is another one you can spec into, but I found it invaluable. Moving on, Firebug, gotta have it. Increases the critical bonus damage of combustible gas cylinder, rail shot, incendiary missile, and thermal detonator. These are all moves that you're using all the time. Rail shot, we've talked about that. Incendiary missile, you're opening one, and thermal detonator, we're coming to that. Rain of fire, rapid shots, that's your generic move. Rocket punch, the one that gives you 60% to your rail shot, and a fair amount of damage, 9 seconds. Rail shot, unlocked by rocket punch, and incendiary missile from your last move. So it's all there. It's just building basically on the components of what you've already invested in. Unload, this is your ranged burst DPS. It's a cast move. I do find that seems to activate your combustible gas cylinder. It seems to slow the target the majority of the time. So I do throw that in if I'm worried about a target getting away and I'm not in range for my flame burst. Use unload. So yeah, flame sweep, deal 9%. Flame sweep, it's not really a viable move. It's one you throw in every now and then. It's basically an AoE torch, castable. It doesn't work with the Pyrotech rotation, or at least the way I play it. I just tend to leave it out, but there you go, if you want to use it. It's there's a couple of moves in the advanced prototype which enhance that, so I suppose that's the equivalent. Energy rebounder. When you take damage, you have a 100% chance to reduce the active cooldown of energy shield by 3 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once. Now I've taken this basically because when you're in a fight and you've wasted all your cooldowns and everything's looking a little bit grim, you look down and the bottom left of my toolbar, I see that shining light, I pop it, and when it's up, that's when you realise that those extra 2 points, they can actually make or break a fight, and a one-on-one situation, or even a 1.2, having that energy shield, 20% reduction, and it basically lasts for 12 seconds. You use that with your cooldowns. It's God mode. I've talked about that in another video. Check them out. So automated defenses. Critical hits have a 50% chance to reduce the active cooldown on TOR overload. That's shield tech. I think you don't really use that. So thermal sensor override. Now the TOR overload is for the merc. It's a healing, and the thermal sensor override. That's worth talking about. That's the basic. That's your. It's a free move to throw into your rotation. It's on 2-minute cooldown. Basically, it says that the next ability will generate no heat. So that's why I keep it quite handy, somewhere I can see it. Right next to my explosive fuel, which is a buff. So You throw them in with a couple of heal stuns, and very good for when you're building heat. Just to it's amazing the difference, especially when you're using something like an incendiary missile, which generates 25 heat, a quarter of your heat. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, 25 heat there. A quarter of your heat, you throw that, nothing, and it just builds because in the time that it takes to cast the move, you're losing heat as well. So very, very good. I've used that. I switch it around a little bit with infrared sensors. Burnout increases tech critical hit chance by 3% and increases the damage dealt by periodic element damage effects for on the target below 30% max health. So that's where the pop in your thermal sensor override when they become under 30% health, and then throw in your elemental move, your incendiary missile, your flame burst. It's free of charge, and it's dealing 30% more max damage. And yeah, it's just it's a passive move, so it's good for finishing people off. It's a must. So the thermal detonator you come. This is not AoE, which is rather strange. I suppose it would be slightly overpowered in PvP if it was, but you're hitting, it's about 3,500 on average. So throwing this into a rotation, it's staggered, you can time it, excellent for burst, a few tactics which you'll see in a few of my other videos, where using this thermal detonator every time it's up and to good effect within your rotation, you'll get a feeling for when it's off cooldown. You won't even have to look, it just feeds in very easily. So a brilliant move. I'll slip that on Q. So yeah, that is the Pyrotech class. What you'll find with the Powertech is that it's a very good one-on-one class to play. You use your stuns. You've got your grapple for any classes that try to like to get a bit of range. Maybe jump in with a force charge, or so you can control the fight quite well. And you've got your sonic missile, which is excellent in PvP. Basically the end of this, as you want to hear, is enemy players have their damage reduced for 6 seconds unless they attack you. So this is sort of it's an AoE move, which I don't see being used that often in other videos I've seen, and that's why I keep it handy on E. It's just brilliant. A lot of people don't know the effects of it because they're not used to seeing it, but that is what it is. It's like a pulse missile. Okay, it sends out a seismic charge, which basically debuffs the enemy. So yeah, something to think about as well. Throw it in there. These sort of moves are going to fill the rotation of what we've talked about, and you can see the mechanics of how all these moves sort of build up. Things to bear in mind: the 30% finisher on your elemental damage, periodic, and yeah, I'm gonna slip in and show you a bit of a couple of jewels that I chanced on later on, so on Tatooine. And if you find this useful, check out my other guides and see what it all happens when you put it together in a Warzone environment. So yeah, cheers, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think. Any questions? Thanks.